Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest. Chuck Ferry of DUOS Technologies and Doug Recker of Dous Edge AI. DUOS has gone through one heck of a transformation in just a few years. They started out with their Railroad Insprction Portals, which has given them all kinds of experience in edge data AI. And that is how they have expanded into data centers for rural areas, smaller in nature, but providing tier one status. They recently have also expanded into energy. But I'm going to let Doug and Chuck tell you all about it in just a minute. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with a very exciting update that I've been trying to get to, but you know they've got so much stuff going on that they just don't even have time to talk to me anymore. It's all good stuff.
That's not true.
I'm just messing with you, Chuck. Jeez.
But Jay, we love talking to you, so I don't know why you said that.
Well, I've got Doug and Chuck here from DUOS Technologies and Dous Edge AI, and there is a new development, DUOS Energy, but it's Chuck's going to explain that out in a second here. What a transformation of this company. I mean, unbelievable transformation, right?
Yeah. So the headlines there is, everybody that knows my background, I was previously the CEO of a company called APR Energy. APR Energy from 2016 to 2020. That's a company that owns mobile gas turbines as well as other generation assets. In 2020, after probably one of the best years the company ever had, we executed a transaction with Atlas Corporation. Not long after that, I decided to leave for greener pastures, and I came over to DUOS. But 4 years later, Atlas Corporation had a tough time with that business, and late this summer we became aware that Atlas was interested in selling the assets of that business and exiting that business, largely because they own a large container ship company called Seaspan. Had done extremely well. They're one of the largest container ship companies on the planet, and really this business had become a bit of a distraction for them. So we enlisted the assistance of a large Wall Street banker that I had relationships with from my APR days. They introduced us to Fortress Investment Group. Fortress Investment Group very quickly realized the story of being able to return the former management team of APR along, and match them back with 30 mobile gas turbines, which is 850 megawatts of power. Given the demand in the data center space here in the United States, it was a story too good to pass up. So it's publicly announced Fortress Investment Group invested a total of $440 million into our ability to purchase those assets. And along with that, now there's a partnership between APR Energy, new APR Energy, where I am now the chairman and CEO of that company, which is privately held, obviously owned by Fortress. Doug is in fact the chief commercial officer for new APR Energy. And we're still the CEO and Chief Commercial Officer and President of DUOS Technologies. DUOS Technologies entered into an asset management agreement with APR Energy to basically manage those assets. And as a result of that, on the DUOS side of things, it now gives us a clear pathway where we will definitely break even and become profitable in the year 2025. And it also allows us to also add additional resources in the Dous Edge data center business and accelerate that. While at the same time, it also has allowed us to grow the business through that asset management agreement to now deploy the 850 megawatts of power. So it has been transformative for us. We're right in the middle of integrating not only the assets, but also people that have joined us from the old APR team and kind of rejoined us because we know them all. It's kind of like a reunion here. And so it's just just adding more talent to an already talented team to help drive down our plan to diversify. And that is inside the railcar space, the edge data center space, and now the power space.
So David is one of those add-ons, right? David that I met in Las Vegas when they were at the show. I think
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. David Dorman is back with us. He worked for me. I worked for APR for many years. Probably one of the most experienced project managers, and the guy who knows how to and has built power plants all over the world. I've been on site with him when we've done those things, and quite frankly, he's a very good developer of that as well. So he's been out talking to a lot of the data center leaders in conjunction with Doug. And so a lot of those data center developers, I mean, we've got a list of over 20 of them right now that are super interested in our help, obviously because we have the power, but also because we have the team that knows how to deploy that power and knows how to develop these projects.
I was impressed, very impressed with Dave. I mean, which doesn't surprise me, right? I mean, day one for meeting you, Chuck. Day one for meeting Doug. I mean, it seems to be a common theme with you guys.
Yeah, we try to, we don't hire B players. We hire A players, and so it's a very exciting time in the company. Part of this, we closed this transaction with APR Energy's assets right at the end of the year. Just over the last 3 weeks, they had a staff of about 55 folks over there. We kind of cherry picked the top 20, most of whom we knew from our APR days before. So we've brought them over. Again, it's been like a reunion with a lot of happy smiles over here in the headquarters. And a lot of those folks have skill sets that absolutely are applicable into Doug's edge data center space and into other areas of the company. So it's just a really, great way to actually grow the business, meet DUOS and DUOS's shareholders' objectives on that side of the tape, but then also be able to, kind of, if you will, get control of the assets that our team used to run and ran very successfully from 2016 to 2020, and really, show the world that, we know how to manage those assets, and we're going to make a great return for our Fortress Investment Group and their shareholders.
So that being that that's private, I guess DUOS benefits from having access, I guess, to those assets that you have, right? For the data center division. Is that the way?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple aspects to it. One, obviously the asset management agreement on really conservative estimates, we'll make about $40 to $45 million over the next 2 years. So that effectively doubles or even triples the revenue for DUOS through that agreement. That's the first thing. The second thing is the company benefited from from a $5 million, I'll say down payment on the asset management agreement. So we took those monies in on the DUOS side at the closing. The DUOS also has a 5% equity stake in APR Energy. So the DUOS shareholders have an ownership stake in APR Energy. So there's a lot of synergies and a lot of value that's been created, through this arrangement. And as APR begins to deploy those assets, and we're already deploying some of them right now as we speak, even just a couple of weeks into it, that just adds additional value to the equity stake, but it also adds additional revenues into the asset management agreement on a go-forward basis.
Okay, and Doug, you've been a little on the busy side, huh?
A little bit. We're
Yes.
running nonstop, but that means it's good, right? That's a good thing. Run as fast as you can, as long as you can. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
So you've got some things happening down there in Texas that I think are pretty exciting, right?
Yeah. So let me give you an update. So the last time we talked, we were deploying our first one in Amarillo for Region 16, the school district there. There's basically 20 regions in the state of Texas. So the first one, really our proof of concept, is Amarillo with Region 16. So that pod is lit. Generators were tested. We are going live with fiber in the next 2 weeks. So we should start moving all our customers in. We have our first contract signed. So the revenue is looking good already. We're ahead of target on the revenue on that pod. And so that one's going to be like the show me, right? The show me model, where on the 18th of March, we're having an open house. And from governor's office to senators to all the other regions, school districts, the people that write the grants for E-rate and all the BEAD folks, they're all going to come out, and we have a couple speakers and then head of procurement for the state of Texas, all that kind of stuff, kind of show what this product's doing for the school, and then how we can basically mirror that across all the school districts in the state of Texas, which then will be a proving ground for us. And I think we're probably 3 months out from a proving ground where we start going into the state of Illinois. They've been hitting us a lot lately, wondering what we're doing. Virginia. So all these other markets will be able to say, look, talk to Region 16. Look what we're doing with the school district. And it's pretty cool, because now the carriers, like the Zaos of the world and the Fiber Lights and AT&T, all of them, they're all starting to wonder what we're doing and want to be a part of it, which is great, because we need them to build fiber, obviously their backbone, into our pod, so we can create these mini peering points out in these tier 3 and tier 4 markets, so we can make those schools and make that enterprise out there, those enterprise businesses, feel like they're in a tier 1 market, right? So now the local hospital, the county themselves is talking about purchasing a pod from us, and doing the same thing we're doing for the schools, for the police, the fire, and the court system and all that. So we're really just bringing, the big life in a tier 1 market as far as connectivity and low latency out to these markets, and it doesn't cost them any difference. And let me explain that real quick, because this is key. So right now, these folks in these markets will go into Dallas or Houston, say, right, where the big data centers are, in Austin, and they'll pay to co-locate there. Well, they have to drive into those markets. They have to pay somebody. It's actually pretty expensive to go into those markets and co-locate. And these schools are all on tight budgets, right, as you know. So now we bring the data center out to where they are, which I call the eyeballs, right, where the data starts. And now the IT directors and the IT staff can actually go, I call them server huggers, but they can go and actually maintain their product where it's right down the street. They're not driving 5 hours, or they're not, and we're cutting the cost down. And the costs we're saving right off the bat to the school is over 30%. So now they can use that money to upgrade their bandwidth and get even better bandwidth for the schools. So, and the connectivity and the redundancy, we bring all that to the school district, and it doesn't cost the school district anything. They're already paying it. If worst case, they're actually saving money. So far it's been great. All the schools are interested. Majority of them are coming out to the open house. We have 3 more school districts that I think will sign early February, even before the open house, because they want to jump on before everybody else does, so they get their pods in quicker. So it's been a good thing. It's been a really good thing. And then the other one we've delivered is in the city of Pampa. But go ahead.
So let me ask you a question, just for those that maybe aren't familiar with Edge AI's, what exactly it is that you're doing, right? You keep saying the word pod.
Yeah.
How big is a pod? And then is that, how big of a facility can a pod take care of?
Cool. Okay, great. So it's roughly, say, 55 foot long, and it's 13 foot wide. And inside this pod, we call them pods, or this EDC, there's 15 cabinets. So those 15 cabinets consist of the actual customer that's coming in and also the carriers that come in. Now, the carriers come in dual entry, so they bring multiple pass in. So they'll take a cabinet each on, for redundancy. So those are all revenue models for us. So the carrier has to pay to be inside our pod, and then obviously the customer. So what's great about this model is it's basically a 200 kW model. So you're not seeing a lot of AI compute in these. They don't need that right now. They just need straight compute. They're not to the AI level yet, right? And the good thing about these pods is they can be upgraded to handle the AI workload. But right now we want to get them out there to fix the bandwidth issue, right? So that's really the model. And the way we built the pods is, let's just say those 15 cabinets sell out, which looks like it's going to be a norm in all these markets, because you've got car dealerships that want to come in, the local hospitals. This isn't just for the school.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's
Yeah.
not specific just to that school. You could have a
Right.
farmer that's got using,
AI,
autonomous vehicles.
That's right,
farm,
or drones. Right. That's exactly right. And that's why we're putting it there. So it's probably not going to be strange for us to drop another pod next to it, right? Another 15 cabinets. So, and that's a good thing. But the other good thing is the partnerships that we have with the school. So we're actually helping the school, so they're helping us. So basically we lease the land from the school, traditionally behind the Region Center, right? And it's a great partnership. So they help us, we help them. And now the rest of the community can take advantage of it. And also mobile operators, right? So the mobile operators out there backhaul everything into major markets. They don't have to do that anymore. They're literally in that market. So that's going to reduce their latency. So now they can offer a better product, lower latency, no pixeling on your phone, things like that in those markets at cost-effective rates too.
Right. So, I mean, this is, and it's moving, it seems to be moving quickly. What was the other group or partnership that you had down there in Texas that?
Pampa, the city of Pampa.
Yeah, so
yes.
we'll talk a little bit about that. And I'll kick it off, and then Doug can fill it in.
Perfect.
Okay.
So basically, Doug, in his while he was talking to the city of Pampa about edge data centers, those are folks from the Pampa Economic Development Council, and this is also out there publicly in a press release that they put out. But conversation kind of went like this: hey, we need some edge data centers. And Doug's getting to know the customer down there, and they tell him, hey, look, what we really need is we need a power plant. Well, why do you need a power plant? Well, what we really want to do is we want to take this piece of property that's out here where we're putting these edge data centers, and we want to build a much larger, proper data center park that might also accommodate some industrial manufacturing customers as well. So Doug calls me and he says, hey, he goes, we have this deal done now. And I'm like, yes, tell them we have 850 megawatts of power. And then Doug says, well, they're saying they also want to have a permanent, like a 20-year or longer power plant. And I said, well, tell them we can do that too, because me and my guys like David Dorman have built permanent power plants. And then he said, well, what they really want to do is build up a data center park. And so my mind started wandering a little bit, and I said, well, Doug, didn't you used to build big box data centers? He goes, yeah, that's what I used to do. I've built and I've sold them. And I'm like, well, tell them we'll do the whole thing for them. And the reason why they want to pick us is because we have the power and we have it now. Fortunately, with Doug's, leadership down there, and his, we are in a letter of intent with the Pampa Economic Development Council to basically take the lead on the data center park development. And we're progressing those discussions right now as we speak. All the details, around water and land and, power and fiber and all those things are ongoing right now as we speak. So we're looking forward to, making a really big difference for the folks down in that area. And yeah, it's a huge opportunity for us.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting, so exciting. I mean, it just seems like you're moving very quickly, right? I mean, this was not announced that long ago, and it just seems like you're just starting to get some traction rolling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a gold rush. Yeah.
It is, Doug. Doug's exactly right. It's a gold rush. You can read all over the analyst reports about what's going on in the data center space and the need for power. And so we're at a real important inflection point in terms of data center and computing, which includes edge computing and also power, right? I mean, even 12 months ago, most data centers really were not looking for, temporary or bridging power solutions or behind the meter solutions. They were really still, looking for permanent power that's coming from the utilities. And because they're publicly traded companies, a lot of these guys, they're looking for green power.
When you say behind the meter, what do you mean by that?
So basically what that means in a traditional sense, a data center or any other, industrial manufacturing facility would normally connect to the grid, which is operated by the utility. So you'll have residential customers, you'll have commercial customers, you'll have industrial customers, all feeding off a grid. Let's say, for example, in the Memphis, Tennessee area, where XAI has a very, very large data center that we recently visited, and we currently have some of our power there right now. They are sitting half a mile away from a 1 gigawatt combined cycle power plant that's operated by the Tennessee Valley Authority. Unfortunately, that power plant has no additional capacity to give the XAI data center because it's all spoken for, and it's going to take probably a couple of years for them to add the additional generation to be able to extend it to that data center. So what the XAI team has done, along with a provider, Solaris, that we're in a partnership with, they're currently operating 300 megawatts of bridging power that's basically behind the meter at that location, with the idea that they'll eventually put in a permanent power plant, again, behind the meter, not connected to the grid, that's effectively self-sufficient, to power these very, very large data centers. So what we've been able to acquire with Fortress's assistance and through our asset management agreement, between DUOS and APR, is we're basically in the business of providing behind the meter power solution. But this is the other big thing, right? So the computing power demand is off the chart right now. They can't build data centers fast enough. There's a shortage of utility power in many locations, not all, but many locations. And the generation OEMs like General Electric, Pratt and Whitney, Siemens, and some others, they had slowed down the manufacturing of new generation assets a couple of years back. They don't really have anything sitting on the shelf ready to go. So there is a shortage of generation assets right now, which has put us into the enviable position of everybody wants our assets right now. And so we're in the wonderful position where we're allowed to be very, very selective about where we go, who we sign up with, and kind of how we make best use of this 850 megawatts of power, which in my opinion is really kind of phase one for APR Energy, and again the opportunities for the public side of the company to participate in that is tremendous. And I think that hopefully is part of the reason why our stock's been kind of creeping up there a little bit here over the last few weeks or so.
I don't think this. Well, this is going to be my opinion. I don't think the street completely understands the opportunity here. I think the valuation of the stock seems to be off. significantly off.
Yeah, it's kind of it's a simple story, but it's kind of complex when you try to explain it the first time, between kind of the two, the public and the private company. But once we kind of have a little more time, sometimes it takes a second or third time to explain it. People are like, oh, now I understand. And it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's really going to do well for the shareholders on both the public and the private side of this thing over the next couple of years, given the commercial opportunity that we're currently looking at right now.
And it's not just so everybody understands, you're not just strapped into data centers. I'm thinking about Puerto Rico, right? I'm thinking about areas where there are power issues in general, right?
No, that's exactly right. In fact, over the last, even before we closed the deal, along with data center developers, coming to us, we have 5 or 6 very interesting international opportunities where they need, sometimes upwards of 200 to 300 megawatts as early as this summer. So again, when we previously ran APR Energy a few years back, the company traditionally worked internationally. The team that we have here has built power plants, over 1 gigawatt worth of power plants in almost every continent, internationally. I think this go around, we're going to be very, very, very careful about the international jurisdictions that we sign up to go to, and avoid some of the challenges that the old APR had, where they were operating in some tough jurisdictions such as Argentina, Libya, Angola, and some others. So, right now we're taking inquiries in from places like Ireland, Greece, Puerto Rico certainly is a potential, given the new governor down there and her emphasis on energy and stabilizing that island's grid. We're also seeing inquiries coming in right now from Dominican Republic, where we have previously operated, as well as Mexico, another place that we've also operated before. So the commercial pipeline is very good, and we're going to be selective.
You know what I think is interesting? We've been talking for I don't know how long now, but we haven't talked about RIP at all. Not to say that is a division that doesn't exist anymore, right? That's it's just actually it's kind of like gravy.
Well, it absolutely does. Look, recent developments there are, of course, it's also been made public now. Canadian National owns 7 railcar inspection portals, and we help them service and operate those portals. We're in an agreement that allows us to sell subscriptions to, there's literally hundreds of car owners and shippers that operate cars on that network. CN has publicly acknowledged that the time has now arrived where they want to share that safety information with the owners and maintainers of those cars, because ultimately it will allow those car owners, those car shippers, to put better maintained cars on the CN network, where in turn CN then benefits by moving cars more quickly and more efficiently, which is what they want to do. So CN is actually now introducing us to some of the largest chemical shippers to start with, and we're in discussions with a number of those that we hope to begin working with later this year. And there are some other opportunities. Again, with the recent change of administration, the emphasis down around the border obviously has been adjusted. We'll just leave it like that. Our technology is proven to be very effective at identifying illegal riders on trains up in, as they're coming across the border. And so we're in active discussions right now with the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection about what our technology can offer. And given now, some of the new leadership that's being injected there and the policy adjustments, we think the future for that technology is much brighter.
not just the railroads, but I mean, and I kind of want to just emphasize this for a second, but tractor trailer trucks, right? Where you got these coyotes that have, 90 people in the back of a truck like that. You could detect that stuff too, right?
Yeah, well, I don't want to talk about it publicly, but along with some of the visual, obviously, we're primarily a vision-based, AI vision-based system. We have tested and perfected the addition of additional sensors that will, without, it's not X-ray technology. It's a different type of technology that we used when I was in special operations that can detect people inside rail cars. And that technology can also be used in a similar fashion with trailer trucks or vehicles. But we've already tested this with one of our railcar inspection portals along the border. So effectively what it does is in a way that's not harmful to any of the illegal riders, it will detect people that can be seen visually, but also people that cannot be seen visually that are actually inside the rail cars, which is where they often are. You'll find people inside tanker cars, inside box cars, all kinds of crazy places. Our system can detect that and alert Customs and Border Protection officials literally within minutes.
Right. Okay. And I would think that would be a big focus with the new administration.
I think we'll see the interest rekindle here pretty fast based on what we're seeing. Yeah.
All right. So you guys having any fun at all?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Well, I am. I know.
I think that the team really is, obviously a lot of us had previously successfully run APR Energy and those assets. But more importantly, it's just a real thrill to see some of our old teammates come back over to us with smiles on their face, and just be really happy to rejoin the team. But at the same time, we're not forming the old APR. This is the DUOS Technologies / APR team. It's new. We've got a new set of commercial opportunities, particularly in the edge computing and the data center computing and the power. And so it's very exciting for everybody. And, financially, it's already benefited us here in just the last 2 months.
So I should probably ask that. I mean, is that, do you see any need to have to do any kind of a capital raise in the near term?
Right now, no, I do not. I would encourage folks, if they want to invest in us right now, I would not be waiting for a large capital raise. You can go buy it on the market right now.
Okay, that's always a good thing, right? I mean, I can see the positive energy. I'm going to say one thing. When I met with David in Vegas, and he had worked with you before, and the first thing I said when I met you the very first time, Chuck, is I could feel your leadership just through you. And, it was awesome to listen to David tell me why he decided to jump and come back over to work with you at DUOS, right? And it came down to exactly what I have stated from day one, which is, leadership, right? He was extremely happy to come on board. And that wasn't even a question. And that speaks volumes about who you are as a leader, right?
Well, it's no, I thank you for the very kind words. I've always been very, very blessed that folks that have worked with me before in the past, some are here in the company that served with me in combat all the way back, to my special operations days in the Ranger Regiment, but also to newer folks that I haven't met till I was kind of in my civilian career. Leaders like Doug, who also are very established leaders that are willing to come on board with us. This is the fun part of, for me anyway, and that is building a team. I know lots of folks like to look at the numbers and that's what they think about, or they look at the assets. I look at the people and the team that will manage the assets and will make the numbers. If you get the right people in the right place, they will make really cool things happen. And I think that's what we're looking at here. 2025 is going to be a really good year for us.
Doug, you're like a bundle of energy, man. I swear, I could. You just you get me fired up. Just, I don't know why, but it's
No,
like,
no. That's good. That's
Feel
good because that's why I make a good team player here because I just keep Chuck in the office raising money, and I just go out here and sell.
I used to work for this guy by the name of John Campion. He was the founder and chairman of APR Energy, and I remember I was his brand new chief operating officer. He had hired me to try and help him turn the company around. They're having a rough patch, and we were sitting with two Wall Street bankers for a very nice dinner. And they were talking to John about all the big plans he had. And he's waving his arms around like this, and he goes, "Chuck, what keeps you up at night?" And I said, "Trying to make sure when that guy brings deals to the door, properly resource them and execute on them." And Doug reminds me in a lot of ways of John Campion, in that Doug's gonna bring, and he's already bringing deals through the door. And I think what we're trying to do here at DUOS and APR Energy right now is make sure that we have a no shit team that can resource what he's bringing through the door, execute on it, and do it in a to a high degree of operational excellence, operational and technical excellence, and make our customers so happy that they went with us. So that's what we're all about.
hey Doug, with your pods, with the whole concept, is there any intellectual property that is you or no? Would that be too
Oh,
challenging?
well, yeah, well, obviously it's the way we've done it so many years. It's the way we designed the pod, right? So, and how the flow works with the pod, the resiliency, the right product, all that stuff is important when you're putting a data center out. It's unmanned in the middle of nowhere, so it's how you build it. And you watch people say they're building these pods, and they have these 3D renderings. The difference between us and everybody else is we're actually doing it, and we've done it, and we've proven it, right? So
When you say out in the middle of nowhere, the one thing I think about, or I guess I would be concerned about, what's the stop from just breaking into these pods and trashing them or whatever, right?
Right. It's all on where you place them. So like currently when we go behind the Region 16 buildings, or that building, it's fenced in. The main backyard parking lot is fenced in with cameras, and then we provide another fence around ours. We have cameras around all four angles of our pod. So that's part of the due diligence, right? We just don't put them anywhere. It's where we have to hit certain checks to make sure that those things are covered.
Okay.
And then
also
they're
the pod itself too is talk a little bit about the actual security system.
Yeah.
So kind of double entry and all that sort of stuff, Doug.
Yeah. So there's some things that we're working on right now. We don't want to put out there too much, but there is some proprietary design that we have now that's in the finishing stages, especially for Texas, and where there's a lot of dust and things. So we're working on that, and we'll see that here pretty soon. But how the pod works is you go up to the pod, the lights will come on because it senses somebody's around there. Lights come on, then you go to the door, and there's biometric and a card reader or a 4-digit number. So you have to have 2 levels of authentication to get into the pod. So once you go into the pod, there's 2 more doors, and each door won't open unless the other one is closed. It's called a traditional man trap, right? So that's how we get our auditing standard. So that's why it's so important to have our pod built the way we do, is because there's no guard there, right? There's nobody that can take a physical audit. So we're a SOC 2 certified facility, just like a big data center. And that's why we can have the hospitals, healthcare, HIPAA, all that stuff come into our pods, which nobody else does, by the way, except for us. And with the way we can audit on the people that come in, that's how we can keep that auditing standard. So I can tell you who came in, their name, what company, every minute of the day, who actually came in, went to certain cabinet, to everything, whether it was a worker on a machine in there or the HVAC unit, electrician, or to a customer or a vendor. I can tell you all that stuff by our system. And in our NOC back in Jacksonville, we monitor all this. So that means if an AC unit goes down, we know right away. We dispatch somebody to fix it. And everything that we built in this pod is called N+1. It's redundant. So that means if you have one source that goes down, there's another one sitting there standby ready to go. So it's fault tolerant. It has everything that you would get in a tier 3 center in any major market.
Awesome. Okay. Awesome. I think that provided some good clarity there.
Yeah. And what would be awesome is if you could come on the 18th. We got to get you to Amarillo and just see how it works, see how the other folks are looking at it and what sells, because you're gonna see a shift here pretty quickly. And I just told Chuck about it, and Adrian was with me at my last convention. Now you're going to start seeing the hyperscalers, the big data center operators like Meta, Microsoft, Oracle. They're all going to need these micro data centers out there for this AI transport. They're going to need them. There's one that was just issued, and it's public. So Meta just issued 20 pods out to a company to build 20 pods for their network. That's 20. They'll probably have around 1,500 of them at the time they're done. So that's just one. That's just one. Then you're going to go to industrial. You're going to go to, these factories that have robotics and all that stuff, like the industrial centers and the processing facilities, all that. So it's just now going. So this is neat to see. That's why we said this is kind of the gold rush. You'll see it starting to run now.
And you guys are just positioned so incredibly well because you have the two.
It's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it's a amazing combination.
Yeah, and that's the other plus to Chuck. So he sees, we all have a vision, right? But he put it all together and let us do it all. So like the power and the data center piece, I'm telling you right now, we're the only one that has that. We're the only one right now that has power that can be delivered to a data center that needs power, so they can get in, build their facility, get temporary power for 3 years, and get Dominion or whoever to build their power out. And we hold the keys right now to those. So we're kind of being picky, like you said, picky and a little picky on who we give it to. So it's a great fit, but that's a great position to be in.
Hey Chuck, do you feel as though you got a good deal on this acquisition?
We got a really good deal. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Yeah.
When he leans back and talks, we got a good deal.
Yeah. Again, these are not assets we're learning about. We owned these. We owned and managed and deployed these assets all over the world, so we know exactly, how much they are actually worth, in terms of book value, but more importantly, the fair market value. So they're definitely purchased below the fair market value. That was certainly validated during the due diligence period that we did on behalf of Fortress Investment Group. So yeah, it's a very good investment thesis. And to Doug's point, this is not just power we can bring to you 12 months from now. This is power that we have typically deployed in, in a month or two at most, internationally. So it's not only is it the gas turbine generators itself, but it also includes the balance of plant, which is effectively the transformation, the fuel forwarding, the fuel management equipment, the water management equipment, some of the auxiliaries and things that it takes to actually connect and actually produce kilowatts for a customer.
All right. Is there you guys feel as though I missed anything?
No, I think you covered it. Yeah,
I think you covered it. I will mention. Look, people that look at us will see it. We have been running what's called because you asked about doing any raises. We do have an at the market instrument out there right now. We've been using it with a real light touch. But right now there's no need, quite frankly, at this point to do any kind of capital raising. So if folks are interested in our stock, they should just go to the market and go buy it.
Okay. All right. I love it, man. So when do you think we should do a follow-up?
I'd probably say, maybe after the earnings call, which I think is in I want to say in April, or well, we could do something sooner than that. I think probably by mid-March at the latest. We could probably talk again. Yeah.
When you, how about the next significant catalyst, maybe? Or
Yeah, I think probably in the next 30 to 45 days, and so it's probably be event driven, not time driven, right? I think we're gonna probably have another, fairly large, I think commercial deals is kind of what we're expecting to come through the pipeline. And those will be big deals.
okay, awesome, guys. Thank you so much for coming in and taking the time.
Well, you know what they say, when you're in Rome, I'm in Texas. I gotta go sell some stuff, boys. So I'll talk to you later.
All right,
I got 5 minutes. All right.
Go get 'em,
Take
man.
care, guys. All right. Bye-bye.
Take care, Doug.
All right. That guy is something else, man. I got to tell you.
No, he's sales and deal lightning in a bottle. To your point, right? It's easy, people can recognize leadership and stuff. When when Doug and I had introduced each probably over 3 years ago now, we had thought about trying to do a merger and acquisition with his Edge Presence business. For a variety of reasons, it just didn't work out. He kind of exited that business, and then, probably about a year ago, he shows up at my doorstep and says, "Hey, Chuck, I want to come work for you." I'm like, I hired him on the spot. Literally. I said, "You're hired. When can you start?"
He is awesome, man.
I went down and told my CFO and my HR guy. So anyway,
he's a bundle of energy. I mean, it seems like he's always somewhere. He's always going somewhere. He actually lives in
he lives in Jacksonville now. When I first met him earlier, he was living in Denver, and spending some time back here in Jacksonville, where he ran his business originally from Jax. But he's now moved back to Jax full time. So he operates here out of our headquarters, when he's not traveling. Yeah, but he lives here with the company here in Jacksonville.
All right, Chuck. I tell you, I knew you weren't going to be you were not going to be happy running a $50 million market cap company. I just knew that was not it was not going to last, right?
No, I look, we haven't given guidance yet for DUOS. We will in the next few months. Once we get a little better projections, it's going to be a lot easier now, obviously, with the asset management agreement through APR Energy. On the APR Energy side, that business is going to grow fast. And the edge data center business in particular, on the DUO side, has the ability to grow pretty fast. So yeah, it should be a good earnings call for us coming up, I think. And we'll try to keep educating people on the story, but it's a good story, I think.
Let me ask you a question, just real quick. I'm sure you're seeing all this news on China catching up to us with the AI. Have you seen that?
Yes, I did. Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? Just real quick.
Look, as a former military officer, I still have obviously a lot of folks that I know that are very, very senior, military officers now, but also a bunch of guys that have transitioned now onto the civilian side of things that are involved in the AI space. I don't think any of us are surprised that, a country with the resources like China, and there are others out there, can and will make significant progress in the development of AI. It's just like anything else. I think, it's a competitive arena. And that AI can be used not just for peaceful business purposes, but it can also be potentially used in a military, adversarial way as well. So I think it's something that the United States has to be very, very serious about in terms of, competing against. And we should not be surprised. That's my opinion.
Right. I think what the one thing that was surprising to me is, because, Eric Schmidt from Google at one point had said they're like 2 years behind us. And then literally in a couple of months, I mean, the one thing that I've always said is that China is very good. Well, we kind of did this to ourselves. We send our stuff overseas to get it manufactured. They steal our intellectual property and immediately start to work on how can they make it better, right? So if you look at AI, which is open AI, and they have access to that, they are pretty skilled at taking something that we came up with and start working on how to make it better. So it shouldn't be a surprise that it took them 2 months and only $6 million to catch up to these guys that have spent billions.
Yeah, and I think it's important. Again, DUOS has been in the AI space now for a number of years. Everybody that's in this space knows that some of the most talented AI developers, certainly there's talented AI developers in the United States, no doubt about it. But there's a stockpile of talent that produces AI, in some of the Baltic countries, in China, obviously, in India, and a number of other offshore locations where they have invested, a lot of money, and there's a lot of talent that's overseas. And a lot of these companies that are in the United States, these tech companies, are tapping into that overseas workforce in the day-to-day production of AI. So that's another thing that I think we have to be concerned about, especially as it relates to anything that's related to any military application or other sensitive applications.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna interesting times, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna have a good year this year. So we'll look. I think we're have smiles on our face because we're finally gonna start making a lot of money, which is cool.
It is cool. I can tell. I can sense a more calm Chuck right now. You know what I mean? You just seem very kind of.
We're busier, but I'm not quite staying up at night trying to figure out how to make ends meet. We're not completely out of that phase yet, but we've got a really good pathway forward right now with what we're doing.
Yeah, I can see it. All right, Chuck. Thank you so much. I'm gonna shut this off, and we'll see you on the next go around.
All right, man.
Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Chuck Ferry from DUOS Technologies, ticker symbol DUOT. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, please give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, why not smash that subscribe button? All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking the time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.